Welcome to your ultimate highlight and tactical breakdown show. The Premier League has finally come to an end today. All the teams played at the same time. Remember, we already knew who had qualified who had won the league, actually, if I should put it that way. The first two teams who had qualified to Europe as far as the Champions League is concerned, and then the relegated teams. Today, we found out the remaining teams that would take up the rest of the European spots. Chelsea Football Club, after floundering and stuttering towards the end of the campaign, managed to find some consistency to get the job done when it was required the most. In Italy, it was Scott McTominay and Romelu Lukaku. Those two guys have something in common, but this time they were in Naples helping Antonio Conte bring another Scudetto to Napoli. We'll get into that as well. We'll talk a little bit about Spain and Italy, and then we'll wrap it up today. So a lot to come on the show today. The text and WhatsApp lines will be displayed on your screens over there, so you can text in from wherever you are. I also want you to tell me how you'll probably be spending your weekends now that there won't be a lot of European football. There's a Club World Cup coming, of course, but I'm not sure that will be enough to satisfy a lot of you. Let's do a quick turnaround. When we come back, I'll introduce my two good friends, and then we'll get talking. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let me introduce my two good friends. Me and Mr. Graham were on the Premier League earlier today. Lots of time on the Premier League, doing everything 360. He's back in the mix. What's good?
I'm good.
These days, you made a lot of fans on the blue side.
I want to dedicate this show to my Chelsea friends. I think that this show is for them.
Only right.
Yeah. I stand by what I said. I was not impressed with Enzo Maresca's team. Yeah. I didn't expect them to qualify.
You are standing on business.
Oh, I didn't expect them to do it. If they've done it, I didn't expect. So they surprised me. That's all it is. But look, I don't want to start, but look, you spent £1 billion. This is the bare minimum. So let's cool down.
It's what it is.
But they proved me wrong. The message has been received. It's okay. Please stop messaging me. Don't DM me. It's okay. I get it. Message has been received. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Let's welcome King Paluta's biggest fan, the man who has added spice to the song.
Of course.
The Rabbi.
Of course.
Ni Abba.
Increase that sound for me. What is that?
Yeah, sound.
Oh.
Coach.
Oh.
They're gonna have to.
My uncle spending money. This is for the.
No, this is too bad. No,
I am back.
I like that.
You know what? I've told people that if you understand football like I do, and you believe in something, you just have to be patient and keep working. I had the treatment given to my coach on Panorama on Friday.
And we stand by
it. Lord Jesus. Yeah. I told the one who told me. I was given the message all the way in Tomo. And I told the person that he shouldn't worry. I have said 2026, 2027, all those who lambasted Amorim, they will praise him. No, I don't need you to apologize. You will have to applaud him. You see the changes that is happening? He will sweep all the dead horses. And when his players come into the team, you will clap for him. As for you, I know, like the Chelsea people have just compelled you to admit to some few diggy-dagger, you will clap for Amorim.
You see, because you know why I don't think I admit.
Don't worry.
Because I feel like we'll be here in September when the transfer window closes, and we'll be hearing Amorim has not got the right players.
No.
That's why I don't think it's.
I have said that if Man United gives this manager his type of players, he will change the narrative. Mourinho was given his type of players to some extent. He couldn't change it. Ole couldn't change it. Ten Hag, to some extent, changed it. I think this manager, from the way he speaks, from the way he believes in his identity, the way he goes about doing his work, when given his type of players, so
Oh, but
will be vindicated by
time. What I said was, I don't think you get his players. Me, I expect to start hearing excuses in September that they've gotten their own players. That's what I've said.
Everything I've said is on condition that
he will get
his type of players.
Anyway, let's get the ball rolling and let's get into highlights mode. Let's start from the coronation. This was at Anfield. Jurgen Klopp was in attendance. Liverpool Football Club were up against Crystal Palace. It was a double guard of honor. FA Cup winners, Premier League winners. It was all fun and games. And let's get the highlights of this one. Then we'll get some pictures from when they received their medals and also the trophy. Let's get into it. Title number 20 for Liverpool. Van Dijk lifting that trophy. Salah picking up the top scorers award and the top assist award. Just tells you everything about the campaign he's had. I believe with 29 goals and 18 assists. Wow. Coach?
I think he's won almost everything. I think he's the players.
Yeah, he won player of the season.
And then everything. He's virtually swept all the individuals. The only award that, of course, you wouldn't have given to him is the goalkeeper's award for the most clean sheet. Obviously, he's not a goalkeeper. But having said that, I think Liverpool deserving winners. Deserving winners. Look, I remember very well my prediction for them at the beginning of the season was very emphatic. I didn't say they win the league. I did say that I expect them to be part of the top three. At least the top three should have Liverpool in there. And if Arne Slot was unable to do that, I believe he gets sacked. Because if you look at the quality he had inherited, the team that Jurgen Klopp has bequeathed onto him, it was very, very prudent and proper that he gets them into the top three. But for him to have turned this team into a championship winning team, I think that was completely beyond measure. And you look at the fact that he didn't actually bring in any new signing. The only signing he brought was used spatially or sparingly, the Italian international. He just changed the style of football and gave them a bit more control on whatever they were doing as compared to what Jurgen Klopp believed. He was the high-octane, high-intensity sort of coach. But under Slot, he needed them to control it. And then he needed them to be smart in the big games. When I remember against Citi at the Etihad, when they took that 1-goal lead, they sat back, allowed Citi to have the ball, and then they went on the counter and punished them. In several other games, you could see the coaching. One of the games that I believe won them the title was that game against Chelsea at Anfield. They were not dominant, if you remember that day. It was a keenly contested game. They won 2-1. Chelsea had a lot of the ball after Liverpool had taken the lead. The fact that Slot could look at how well Chelsea were playing and the fact that they had something to protect, and for him to have tactically withdrew everybody back behind the ball and get them to play on the counter tells me that his way of doing things was very, very different from that of Jurgen Klopp. And you can only applaud the players. Because if you look at what they had been used to for the past 8-9 seasons under Klopp, for them to have changed at the very first time of asking and demanding of them, then indeed, these are very, very good players. My Manchester United, the players were required to just adjust, system change. They were in 6s and 7s. This man, he got them to change the system. He got them to change their identity. There were times where he blended the old or the Jurgen Klopp Liverpool with his. But the fact that they could find a proper balance as at when to use and when not to use what made them a formidable opposition. They were the pace setters at the start of the league. They maintained that. My only disappointment was the fact that the moment they got confirmed as league champions, their head dipped and then they switched off. Normally, you don't want to see that happen. Because if that happens and they have to be playing against an opponent whose fate or whose the outcome of the game would affect the other teams, you cannot trust them to give them their best. And that, in my view, was the only downside to whatever I saw of Liverpool. And the fact that there were moments during the season where they felt that you could see and you could feel it. Even with the Liverpool supporters, they believed they would win more than a trophy. You could clearly see that Champions League exit,
it really had them.
And the FA Cup exit really had a psychology. And if
they felt that at least 2 trophies without
look, if at the time Arsenal were a bit closer to them,
they'd have probably blown
in the league, I think they would have they would have gone under some proper scrutiny and pressure, and that would have meant that anything could have happened. They won the league, like I said, they are deserving champions. But if you're a true Liverpool fan, you congratulate them on the other hand. But on the other hand, you look at where the PSG that knocked them out, where they placed in the Champions League group stages,
and how far
Liverpool. Look at the gap between the two teams.
They were literally at opposite ends of the table.
But also, and then PSG have got to the final.
So I think that would be Liverpool's only consolation.
If you're Liverpool, you look at this, come on, man.
Yeah.
But although they've gotten to the final, having won the first leg away from home,
I think Liverpool definitely feel like they could or should have won that game.
Could have won that game. And I think if they had eliminated PSG, they would have been playing the final on Saturday. These were the negatives that came along throughout the season. But look, with regards to domestic football, again, they should have at least won one of the knockout competitions. In that they were that good.
I agree.
They were that good. On their day, nobody could stand up to them.
Plymouth Argyle.
Look at
and
that.
Plymouth Argyle have been relegated from the championship.
Look at that. So, Arne Slot will look at this and say, look, we did so well, but he still needs this thing.
We can go one better next season.
He can go better. Would they actually?
Well, they started making moves.
I don't think, yes, they've made some good signing already.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will have it this easy.
No, they won't.
For them to win the league
again
next season, they will have to do far, far better, because Arsenal will be better. Man City will be better. I believe my Manchester United will be better. Look, you see, United are going to experience the biggest leap in form from 15th to challenging for top 4. It will be shocking to everybody.
I feel like we should add Chelsea.
Yes, Chelsea themselves
with their spending power. I think Chelsea will definitely get a good goalkeeper next season.
Good goalkeeper. 2 good centre backs and a proper goal scorer.
I'm sure they'll buy just one centre back, because I think
they have too many centre backs in their team.
I think they believe in Levi Colwill, so they'll just buy one to partner Levi Colwill, and then they'll add a striker. That's what I think.
The demand of the Champions League and the quality of that competition. I think they need 2 very experienced.
But they'll have to sell. Don't forget that they currently have Fofana on their books. They have Disasi, who went on loan on their books still, but they are still is on their books. They have Cole, like you mentioned, Tosin is on their books. Chaloba is on the books. So they have like 6 or 7 centre backs. So if they want,
there's probably someone on loan that we forgot now.
And I don't think. Look, I don't think their current centre backs
are quality enough
for the Champions League.
I don't disagree. I just think that to bring in 2, you probably have to let a couple of them go, so you can free up some money. But just your thoughts quickly on what stood out for you in this Liverpool campaign? Like, be it Slot, be it the players, be it the fans, I don't know. What stood out for you in this campaign?
Just the consistency of their results. Because before they won the league, they lost only 2 games.
Only 2 games.
Yeah, they lost once at home to Nottingham Forest and once away to Fulham. That was it. That's very impressive. Yeah. And they weren't drawing a lot of games either. So look, they were a very impressive team all the season. If you are being honest, maybe after January, their performances were not as good, but the results still stayed consistent and good. So for me, look, I know people are going to downplay it because the points total is not as high, because their last 5 or 4 games, they didn't win. I think their last 4 or 5 games, they didn't win any, if I remember correctly. So people are going to downplay what they did. But look, they were able to do that because they won easily. At the beginning of the day, they were 12 points ahead of Arsenal.
That's
maybe
huge
by
gap.
the end of the day, it's now 10. Because
in recent times, we've not had that gap.
Yeah. So we have to give them credit, because that, exactly like you said, the gap is not something we see. The last time a gap like this happened, I believe, was when City won 100 points. Second, and Man City that's the last time we've seen
it. 18, 19
yeah,
points
exactly.
Different.
So look, very impressive, and no one. I believe no one should dare downplay this to say that they didn't get high enough points. They worked the league and they were able to sleep at the end, and that's why their points is not as high as you'd expect.
Congratulations to Liverpool for winning the 2024-2025 Premier League season. Let's get to another team that will want to avenge the bad campaign they've had. Manchester City were at Craven Cottage to take on Fulham Football Club. Good win for them. Straight to the point, straight business, no gimmicks. Let's get to the highlights. So Manchester City securing the 3rd spot with this victory. Let me start off with you on this one, Susu. So we've spoken about their troubles all season. they attempted to address their troubles mid-season, but what kind of summer are you envisioning for them based on this campaign?
Well, we're hearing that they are looking at Tijani Reinders, so it's looking like they are thinking the midfield is a priority. They were looking at Florian Wirtz. They said maybe it's a bit too much. They are trying to probably replace the creativity of Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
So they've started working on things. They are looking to strengthen. The Club World Cup is coming up, mind you. So some of those players will probably be integrated after the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
So we'll see their level. Rodri is back. That would definitely have them play a lot better. Their midfield be a lot more solid because we saw Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and other players try and do what Rodri does, and we just saw their legs were in there. They just couldn't cover the space. So things will be quite different next season. Marmoush is now a secondary goal threat to add. So Foden has to have a better season next season because his last season to this season is one of the biggest drop-offs. Like someone who's won player of the year.
Can't get into the first team.
In fact, he's even been dropped from England now. The England team has not called him up for their upcoming matches. So that should just tell you how bad the season has been. So
wow.
It's very interesting to see how a lot of those things play out and that kind of stuff. But for Man City, once you have Pep Guardiola, you can't count them out. We know what Guardiola is like. There's a reason he's the first manager in English history to win 4 straight top-flight titles. He's a managerial genius. So let's see how he turns it around because this is legacy defining for him because Pep Guardiola, from what you've seen, he's never come to a squad that wasn't good enough and built. But right now, you're asking yourself, is this squad good enough? I know they just won 4 titles in a row before this season, but with all the things you've seen from them this season, you're just wondering, what can Pep really get them back to their best? I suspect he can because, to me, there's just too many quality players. Haaland will probably be a bit better next season. If they fix their creativity, they're able to adequately replace Kevin De Bruyne. If Phil Foden steps up, Savinho and Doku are quite young players. They are both under 23. You expect them to take a few steps forward. So I believe things are promising. Things are not as bad as they seem from the Man City perspective for sure. So,
Coach, talk to me about the Foden problem from a tactical standpoint. I mean, what have you made of it all season? MVP, previous campaign, goes to England, does not have quite a major role, but was not poor at the Euros, and then comes back and is completely unrecognizable.
Is he, how old is he? 22?
Foden's closer to
be like 24, 25.
Okay. For me, I think he's played too many games. And for me, I think if you look at how well he played last season.
Even the season before, he was not MVP, but he was pretty
last
good.
Season, through to the Euros, he came back from the Euros. He didn't go for pre-season. He got injured. He came back. So it had to do with the integration and the fact that the Man City team themselves were not their usual self after the injury to Rodri. Look, every other player struggled, but in his case, he couldn't handle that sudden dip in for the fact
and
that
Kevin De Bruyne was injured a lot.
Exactly, he was one of those looked up to fill the void and get the team to move in the direction that they would normally move in until the established guys came back. Is he one of the very established guys in the team? Yes and no. Yes, because he's been part of their winning success. But once you had those established guys still around, he's still a learning player. A player who is still learning the trade, yet to perfect, yet to take over the mantle. So I wasn't surprised he had the sort of form he had. Because I've always said that when the player is between 18 to 24, you will be absolutely lucky if he is on the ascendancy throughout. After 24, 25, when he peaks at 25, he's supposed to do 25, 26, 27, 28. Then he
probably starts dipping a little.
Dipping a bit. And then into his 30s, one or two very good seasons, and then he starts dipping. So it wasn't surprising to me at all that he had the sort of season he had. My problem was under the sort of manager he had. Pep is so experienced that I think Pep, as a very established coach, should have done better in trying to
revive
get the
him.
ball look more like himself.
I think that Pep can be very hard on players.
He can be very hard on players. And look, take it or leave it. I like him. I love his coaching style. But in terms of managing situations when there are issues, he's not been the best.
True.
And just to speak on that a bit, Pep has a policy that if you are not smiling, he doesn't want you around.
Exactly.
You basically, if you have a problem, swallow it. He doesn't care.
And you know the funny thing is, Phil Foden is not even somebody who smiles even when he's playing well. He has a very straight face most of the time.
So that's even why Cancelo and a few other players who we thought were doing well, they started, sometimes he can just drop a player for 3-4 games.
Without any explanation,
and
without anything.
I believe that's what he did to Cancelo. And Cancelo was like, I was your most important player last season.
I was playing out of position. I was playing at left back.
Why do you drop me all
Why
of a sudden?
did you just drop me like and then Cancelo came to ask me, he said, and Pep told him that basically, you know the rules. I'm not going to talk about this. So if you are not happy, the door is there.
And that was it. And then there's this other thing I really want to point out. I don't know, but they've got some serious purchasing to do. And I don't know why.
Which positions?
Look, in my view, I think they need to sort out the issues of their laterals.
Right back, left back.
Look, that boy from Croatia, he's not a left back. He's a centre back.
Yeah.
He's deputized there. He's played it very well.
Yeah.
Ake, makeshift left back. We all know he's a centre back.
Yeah.
I heard Pep said Kyle Walker is not going to come back.
No, Kyle Walker isn't coming back.
So he needs
and he's been playing Mateus Nunes at right back.
He's not. But again, if you look at the players they're targeting, look at Mamouche. They paid over 70 million pounds for him.
Nico Gonzalez, I think they paid like 50 million.
Well, the issues they've got, that is in court. I don't know why they are being allowed to continue to spend money the way they do.
Maybe that's why they are doing almost all they are spending right now.
But
because we hear the verdicts might come out in the off-season.
Exactly. Something should be done to get them to hold on. Because these are serious issues.
But you see, coach.
And for some of us, I'm coming. Some of us, for me, I am shocked because I look at Manchester United, for example. Every now and then we are hearing the issues of, because of that FFP, you may not be able to spend money. Man City don't raise more money than Man United.
Nope.
They don't. They don't.
Yeah.
And they've got issues, but they can spend 70 million, 80 million, 90 million when there are issues like that. So for me, look, to get the other teams to respect that rule, we need to get a final verdict on this matter.
Coach,
if they are not guilty, keep spending. If they are guilty, let's see the punishment that is going to be dished out.
But coach, that's why I just wanted to come to that. Because there's no verdict, if you put an injunction on them, and let's say the verdict comes out that they are not guilty,
they can take you.
They are going to argue that you have hindered them in the transfer market.
So what then happens?
Because they were not able to move for their targets
what
and
then
blah,
happens,
blah, blah, blah.
Because these are issues that run back 4 or 5 years ago. What then happens if they are found guilty? They might have done things that they still shouldn't have done.
What they've said is that there's unlikely to be retroactive punishment, that the punishment is likely to be pushed forward. So it's not like they'll strip them of titles. So let's say the punishment maybe 30 points next season, 50 points, 10 points, whatever the case is, it won't go back. It will be going forward. So if they spend the money and whatever.
I thought that per what they were going through, if they were to be found guilty, some of the titles they won, they are stripped of those titles.
I believe
a lot of us thought so too.
I believe it causes too.
I'll have to go back and read on that.
I believe
it disrupts too much.
It causes too much confusion.
No, because if they won the title undeservedly.
No, because coach.
He's talking about ripple effects.
The idea is that let's say you are saying that in all these seasons, Man City is removed, and they will be classified as 10th in all those seasons. I'm just giving an example. Now someone's going to say, well, I should have been in the Champions League. I was denied my revenue. Yep. So it just becomes because everyone is going to come for that. If you say that all those seasons are removed, everyone moves up one place. The teams that
so this game you played against me. So they'll say that this game you played against me, you cheated. So me too, I want my 3 points.
I think when it talks about cheated, it's been made too simple. But what I'm saying is stripping them of the title. These are things we've seen happen elsewhere. They've happened elsewhere.
I just think that we will get a lot more clarity on that whole thing probably in the summer.
Because if you look at when they go for a player, the amount of money they are able to pay.
But even with spending, right? If you've noticed, I think they've slowed down a little because in the summer,
in January,
because that's
250 million.
That's because they didn't spend a lot of money in the summer, and they sold Julian Alvarez for 80 million.
But coach, actually, since about, let me say 2017, 2018, if you look at Man City in terms of net spend, So looking at how much they spend and how much they make in sales, they are making a lot in sales.
They are balancing,
Right now, their under 21 players have become very popular with championship teams in the lower half of the Premier League.
Even that most of those figures were cooked figures.
But you see, the team said, but the teams are also saying they paid it. So
that's the thing. So I think it is up to the investigation to prove or dispute.
But you see, that's what. But Juventus had the same problem in Italy, that it was proved that they had cooked figures by colluding with other clubs that buy our player for 12 million, we'll buy your player for 50 million. The amount of money that changed, I don't think the Premier League teams were doing that, but generally, they were selling very well. They are under 21 players, because look at Howard Bellis. He went to Southampton. Liam Delap, he went somewhere.
They sold Morgan Rogers.
They have players who are, I think they have, if you look around, quite a few of their under 21 players have been moved. Romeo Lavia, another one. Bazunu, the guy who was keeping for Southampton. So their players are being bought. So they are actually making money from sales. I
think their sales are not as publicized as their purchases.
Because their players are not very high
they're
profile.
Not high profile
but they are
players.
making, they will sell
3 million, 5 million.
No, it's like 20
bigger money,
million,
25.
How many?
They sold Cole Palmer to Chelsea for 45 million. He had barely kicked the Premier League ball.
He's the only player they sold for that.
No. Let's go for like 25 million.
20 million, 25.
How much did they spend on Erling Haaland? He alone cancels all that.
They said 60 million.
Over 100 something million.
But
I kind of agree with you that some of their transfer dealings look funny. So I really want clarity on this, just as much as you do. But that's the tale of Manchester City. Let's see what their tale is next season. Let's move it on and go to Chelsea and Forest. This was the game of the round. I mean, as far as the football itself was concerned, this game was incredibly underwhelming. Let's take a break first. When we come back, we'll get to that game. So let me start off by reading a few messages before we get into more highlights. This one says, Arteta and his father Pep didn't win anything this season, and they both had a lot of injuries and inconsistency. Believe me, guys, next season, they will sweep every trophy in England and Europe. Prof. Zeal from Tessan.
Is it the father who is sweeping? Or Arteta is the one sweeping the
one person is holding the broom.
He said the father and the son, and one is holding the broom, one is holding the pan. So
we'll find out next season.
Okay, let me divide it. So Arsenal win the league, then City win the FA Cup and the Champions League. The Arsenal also win Carabao. I've divided it.
King Selassie from Adenta Pantan says Phil Foden is an average overhyped player with PR. He just played one good season. Thanks to a quality all-round Man City team. He's been poor since then, but his English passport is saving him from the English media. This one here.
I agree with that, because they don't even talk about how poor
They don't. Like, they mentioned it in the past.
If it had been another player from another country,
they would have been having him for lunch. True. Good. This one says, good evening, guys. Sewing machine from La Paz. Susu, give credit to Chelsea and the manager. I remember you said Chelsea won't make the Champions League. And coach said United will beat us. We proved both of you wrong. Coach, let us tell you the truth. Your coach won't achieve anything better. He is just going to get sacked. He's not good enough. Watch us win the Champions League next season.
They should think about their team. Chelsea.
Junior from Dome says, good evening, Ben and team. Salah really needs to be steadied, because his number in the last 5 seasons is serious, or his numbers, I think you want to say. And Haaland's numbers amidst the poor form is crazy, beaten only by 6 goals difference. So Mohamed Salah getting his flowers there. Let's get to more highlights, and let's get to that Chelsea and Nottingham Forest game. It was expected to be a cracker. Wasn't really a cracker, but it delivered what Chelsea wanted. 3 points and a trip to the Champions League. Let's get it. Maresca and his coaching staff, and you will see what it means to them to make it to the Champions League. Coach, let me take your thoughts on this one. Hard season, very difficult season for Chelsea. Ups, downs, lots of turbulence, injuries. They figured it out eventually, enough to make it to the Champions League.
Congratulations to them. Because at some point in time, you could look at what they were doing and sort of things they were playing, and you could boldly say.
It took 1 point from Ipswich. That was very down.
That was unacceptable.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it is more like the coach himself. If you look at his only true season as a coach, which was what he did with Leicester City.
This today, yeah.
They started very well.
They ran ahead. They were like 20 points ahead. They fell asleep.
And they woke up again towards the end.
So this is what Chelsea have repeated again. Started the season very, very well. Went to sleep. But when it matters most, when they had to step up and show a bit more belief and a bit more character,
Yeah.
they were able to do that. At a point in time, this manager had to shuffle between players for the Conference League, players for the league. So when you do that, and if you look at the sort of wholesale changes that he was making in the two different competitions, I had issues with that because you can't sustain that. You need to get the players to continue to play together and get them to believe. You cannot have this Sunday, this group plays, next
There's
Sunday.
a disconnect.
There's a huge disconnect. So he had to stop that. And you remember that it worked for him at the beginning. But as the Conference League got very, got to the business end, then he started saying that, look, he need to get the likes of Kopama and Co to be playing in both competitions.
Nicholas Jackson, and I can't remember one other player, weren't even registered for
at the
group
beginning.
stage.
But you got to know, if you do that, you are going to break the chemistry in how they work. But look, truth be told, their last 6 and 7 games were difficult games.
And they did very well.
And they did very, very well. The only game that I was sure they were going to lose, come what may, was the game at St. James's. I said that Newcastle, if they can get any form of result at Newcastle, that guarantees them Champions League. But the moment they got beat by Newcastle, they knew they needed to beat Manchester United. At the time, Man United went into that game having divided attention. There was the Europa League final to play. So if you look at what point did they actually enjoy that game? It was when Ruben Amorim took out Casemiro, took out some key players in the United setup. United couldn't adjust to the tactical switch. And then just within that moment, Chelsea scored. And there was no way Man United were going to come back. For me, this is the bare minimum. If you look at how much money they have spent.
Over $1 billion.
Over £1 billion pounds.
Yep.
This is the bare minimum. So to the Chelsea faithful who wants to chew the head of my brother, he didn't say anything that was not.
Per your form, that was the projection.
That was the projection
And
at
even,
the time.
and you see, football is funny because when you get the results, you start acting like, oh, it was all good. A lot of them were paranoid that they were not going to make it.
At a point, they wanted to sack Maresca.
Yep,
exactly.
A lot of them were paranoid they weren't going to make it.
Why were they thinking like that? Because the form was not anything
it was
good
not
to write
encouraging,
about.
yep.
But having said that, they themselves are aware. In recent times, they are also facing some charges. With respect to whether
they have been doing all kinds of funny things, trying to sell teams that belong to them to themselves,
so that they go and balance their books, and they've been stopped from doing
it. They are doing some insider trading with themselves. I don't even get it.
This is another team whose issues will have to be settled. There has to be a verdict on them.
Whether
they can still go ahead and buy players, or I think they will need to buy in.
I believe what they are doing, because it's just with the Premier League, their issue is they spend too much. PSR is a very straightforward one. Have you spent too much or not? Yes or no? They will investigate. If they have, it will be like Nottingham Forest and Everton. They'll just deduct them points.
Okay, so
I think the Man City one is a bit more complicated because that one is they try to cheat the system.
So if they sort that out and they can go and buy, they really need an improvement in so many areas. They need a better goalkeeper. No, to that chance.
After buying this guy for that much money,
I'm afraid he's just not good enough. It's like Onana.
And don't forget Kepa is. I think Kepa is on loan, right?
Kepa is on loan.
Let me give you guys a funny stat. He has the highest save percentage in the league.
No, but
very funny.
Maybe he's facing a lot of shots.
But I'm just saying, it's just very funny that we are complaining about.
To be honest, on a good day, he's a decent shot stopper. He just has too many errors in him waiting to happen.
Exactly. So I think they need an improvement on him. And then in centre back, I've already said that if you look at what they've got, if you take this, look at the point in time, they had to recall
Chaloba. It just tells they are loaned out.
They never believed
They denied Chaloba.
Somebody they stopped. Exactly. And there were times where you were told not to even step at the training ground. Go and train with those guys who are not
classified to be first team players. Eventually, he got
shipped him out.
Eventually, they had
the
to
builder has refused.
call him back, apologize to him.
And he's been immense for them, actually.
Since he came back.
Yeah, he's been
That is a clear indication that this defensive unit is not the one you can trust. I think the only player you can trust in that defensive block is the Spanish boy, their left back. He has maintained some decent consistency.
Yeah. Easily been their best defender this season.
I believe so.
And this is the Cucurella everyone expected when he came from Brazil.
Exactly. I think the Euros...
He had a little dip and then
the injury to Balde.
I think the team was just too chaotic
Yes,
at the start when he joined.
When he came. So the injury to Balde at the national level, that gave him the chance to play in the Euros, boosted his confidence, and he's never looked back. That is very good. I think they need to create some form of competition for Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
The season we saw of him last, as compared to this,
the first 3 months we saw
the disparity is
I think that if he had produced half of the form he produced in the first half
challenge
of
for
the league,
the title.
they would have been title
At the point in time, they were very close to.
Because his
We
second
thought
half of the season was literally
absolute-
non-existent.
But part of it was that when Nicholas Jackson doesn't play, the attack is just
Flat.
because even
That's
today the attack
Yeah.
was very flat.
Exactly. And again, players like
would have been speaking about
Nkuku,
Jackson being the weapon to Chelsea's attack.
Players like Nkuku, Jadon Sancho, I don't think.
I think
these
they
are
also have a
players
lot of chaff
to get rid of.
to get rid of.
If you can get rid of those guys and go into the market, you see, Palmer is good. He's a starter, but he needs to get some form of competition.
Sure.
And then they need to get an established goal scorer. Nicholas Jackson numbers this season, until he got injured, absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
But I still do believe, for the fact that they've qualified for the Champions League, the standard required,
you need to
in
up the
that,
quality.
You need to up the quality. If you go in with this, I'm afraid when you see, you come across the big boys, and when they show up, when the likes of Mbappe, Lamine Yamal,
we'll see.
shows
But
up,
luckily
something will have to
for
give.
us, we'll see Chelsea in the Club World Cup playing some of these other Champions League teams. Very likely to face some of them. So it will be a good test to see where they are relative to.
Yes, but the World Club Championship may not give them the chance to play even 4 top Champions League teams.
No, I'm just saying,
some of the teams are
but
Colo teams.
after the group stage,
But
we'll see.
you know what? I think Chelsea will get a proper evaluation in the Conference League final, because I've watched Real Betis this season.
Yeah, I think
there are no pushovers. If Chelsea think that game is already won, they are in for a
Then
rude
this one,
awakening.
but this one is the student and the master. Manuel Pellegrini versus
Exactly
his
my
student.
point.
Enzo
And if you
Maresca.
know the history between Spanish teams and English teams in European finals,
You have to be worried.
I rest my case. Let me get to some more. No, let's not get to more highlights. Talk to me about Forest. I saw like a cutscene to Marinakis when they were losing the game. He looked upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Champions League was in the bag for most of the
I
season.
think he had budgeted the Champions League money for a couple of things already.
Oh, I mean, look, he spent a lot of money, and that would have been a huge return on investment. You know, so it's very disappointing considering where they were. But as he said rightly last week when he released a statement about the whole going on the pitch and stuff, he's proud of the team for qualifying for Europe. He promised the fans that they would be in Europe someday after he took over. He's delivered on that. And look, let's be honest with ourselves. Most of us, where do we have Forest? Between 17th and
Relegation.
13th.
Maybe bottom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they had finished 13th, I'm sure a lot of us would have come and said they've done well.
Yep.
Let's be
Yep.
honest.
Yep.
So for them to even finish in the European places, we have to clap for them. We have to applaud their efforts. I know it's ended on a sour note. It's been a bit underwhelming how it ended, because I think from their last 10 games,
They
maybe
could taste
won
it.
only one or
They
two.
could taste the Champions League.
Yeah,
They could hear the anthem.
they could hear and then it just, because look, they were third for most of the season.
Yep.
They were third, and they just threw it all away. So it's
That's
very
about the last
disappointing.
10 games of the
Yeah,
season.
it's very disappointing. But look, at the end of the day, if they reflect, and they reflect,
been a
honestly,
successful season.
it's been a very successful season.
For me, they
So
are my
we'll take
team
it.
for the season. They are my team of the season.
And,
because nobody
and the
gave them.
truth is, if you told Forest fans at the beginning of the season, you
You
guys will
qualify
qualify
for
for Europe via
take
the
it.
league. Not even that you win a cup, via the league. You do so well in the league, you qualify for. They would have said, they would have
called you
a
crazy.
liar. Yeah, exactly. So look, I'm sure they'll be very happy. I know it's disappointing, but I'm very sure they'll be very happy. And knowing how ambitious Marinakis is as an owner, we can see more investment.
But
they will push for something.
Do you think Nuno stays?
I mean, you can't let the end of the season make you feel like he's not good enough, because he's the second and fancy team he's taking to, because he did it with Wolves before.
Yep.
So he has shown he's a quality manager.
Yep.
So let's see the players there. But Marinakis is ambitious. His Olympiacos team have won the Conference League already. So this is not a team that if they go into the Conference League, you feel like this is not something his ownership has not done before. I think they will take it serious.
I think they dare not sack him. If he's to leave, then it will be on his own terms, because he could get some offers that may be more appealing to him, and then he will leave. But just to say something about what the owner did last week when he came onto the pitch, these are things that should be condemned. And for me, he may put out a statement like he did, but his his
demeanor,
and his facial.
It was very wrong.
It was very, very wrong. You don't want to see white man do that. We are used to seeing such behaviors
at Ghana Premier League.
But the truth is, he does those type of things in Greece for Olympiacos,
and we don't see them
because he's one of the richest men in Greece. He's a very powerful man in Greece. So he does something. So when he does it in Greece, he gets away with it. But when he comes to do it in England, which other owner have we seen?
Believe you me, Nuno will not be happy with that.
Yeah, he was definitely not happy.
And truth be told, which owner do you see doing that in England?
Nobody.
We don't see it, and that's why Gary Neville
I
spoke
applauded
out.
Nuno
For the
because
composure.
of the composure he had. If you do that to coaches like Mourinho and Co, they will forget you are the one who pays them. They will come on, get out. This is my office. Get out. You don't do that. And that would have created a lot of sin. But look, it should be condemned. You don't want to see such things.
But I also want to add, he behaved, I think, Forrest had behaved a bit childish about this incident in banning Gary Neville from the ground. Because you can't, I feel like we're not, it's not right to say that someone who's criticizing, giving their opinion on something, should be banned from your ground because you don't agree with his opinion.
You yourself put out a very shameful act. And they ban him because of his opinion. Based on what I'm saying, they would have banned him.
It's very shameful. And look, you basically impeded it because he was supposed to be on commentary for the game. And he couldn't come. And I think had to change the commentary
his other colleagues will have to.
They'll have to
boycott covering their games because you can't do that. But so after that action, he expected everybody to keep quiet on the matter.
That's why he came and said that, it's because of the medical staff and I would need. And to be honest, because we didn't hear what he said, when he says that,
for us to,
but I feel like he wasn't happy about the match results, and that's why
they
he
are taking
went.
the 2-0 lead.
It was a cover up.
Yeah.
And
I think it was 1-0.
Yeah.
It became 1-1, 2-1, then became 2-2.
So at the time, if they had won that game, I think they would have.
Yeah, because it would have been a very different game against Chelsea.
Altogether.
So Marinakis and Nottingham Forest, congratulations to you guys. Had a very stellar season. I know it's painful to taste or see the Champions League, feel it, hear the anthem, but not be part of it. I know how it is. You can ask Arsenal fans. Anyway, let's move it on to other games and let's get to St. James's Park. That was where the biggest disappointment of the day happened for me, but in the end, it didn't really matter. Newcastle had done enough work to get into the Champions League. They lost to Everton. We said on Sports Panorama that this was a foregone conclusion and that Newcastle were just too tough at home to lose. It's exactly what they did. Let's get the highlights. Newcastle United, the Toon Army, going back to the Champions League. Second time under Eddie Howe.
They deserve it.
With a trophy in the bag this season as well.
I mean, it's been a solid season for them. If I think it would have been very sad if they had not qualified for the Champions League today. Because if you look at their all-round performance throughout the season.
One of the best home forms this season.
They've been very, very consistent. You beat them, and you know you've been in the game.
Yep.
Every
game is a battle.
Even the game that Bournemouth humiliated them. I think Bournemouth scored 3 or 4 or 5 against them. Even that game was a spectacle. They were very, very good. They just didn't take their chances. But on the face of what we witnessed, I think they deserve to be in the Champions League. And it's been a very successful. Again, they are going back to the Champions League.
Yep.
They will need to improve.
They'll have to have learnt lessons.
I think they need a bit more technical players.
Which positions?
If you look at them, it's about pass, receive, move, run. No, the Champions League.
You need to be smart.
You need to be smart. You need to have at least players who are technically gifted on the 10, seize the pass.
PSG give you a good idea of what you're looking at.
Exactly. And I think they've got the workaholics in the midfield, the Gumares, the Tonali, the Joelinton. It is time to vary that with having one proper technician as a number 10. What comes to mind in my view, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'll be telling my bosses, go get the boy from Lyon. That Cherky.
Ryan Cherky.
Yeah, they need somebody like that.
Liverpool is also hovering around him.
I like what you say about him, but because I'm very sure that the reason top clubs don't like him is he either has attitude problems.
He does. He does.
Or his work rate is not there.
Yeah, so you see, when it comes to the work rate, I think he will be told that if he's brought to the EPL to succeed, you have to work.
Because the irony also is that just to draw a pattern, right? The players in Ryan Cherky's mold who have made the jump to the Premier League have all not really succeeded. I think about Remy Cabella. I remember him.
Yes. And then there was this boy.
Hatem Ben Arfa. He had his spells. And Adel Taarabt, another one, had his spell where he was decent. Even Dimitri Payet was good, but he just tailed off.
Too lazy.
I remember Gabriel Obertan was in the same kind of mode. Very skillful winger type of guy. Never really cut it in the Premier League. Florian Thauvin went to Newcastle specifically. Also very technically gifted.
I feel Thauvin, even part of his problem was adapting. Because I feel, to be honest, I believe Europeans have a hard time moving to England, continental Europeans, and French people more so. Because from what I understand, French people, they are very set in their way. So when they go to other countries,
they have to do things a bit different.
Hard for them to switch up their life.
England is a very tough contrast. That's the way I see it. But I just want to touch on something Coach said. I believe actually, Tonali and Gumaresh, with a different coach, they can actually be calm and less.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about that. They can be calm, but
you need you're talking about a juggler, like a dribbler.
A dribbler, yes.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like those guys are quite technical. Maybe they are not dribblers, but they are technical.
I get what you're saying. I get what both of Coach wants like a hold on to the guy. I can take players on in tight situations.
You're talking more about a dribbler.
A dribbler.
Okay, I understand.
I think if they get somebody,
you meant more like a kind of
deep
lying controller.
They can do that. I want somebody who is a technician.
Gets there. I can get into tight spaces and make things happen.
Dance around 2-3 players.
Yeah, that one is difficult.
They definitely need a player.
They'll have to get a player like that.
I think Anthony Gordon has been decent.
You see, he's
more
they have dribblers in their front line because Isak and Gordon are very. They can get past but they don't have anyone in the middle.
When they had that in Alain Saint-Maximin.
He was out wide. I need somebody in the middle.
Do you know the player I think of who might be on the move? Tijani Reinders.
But he would be expensive.
The AC Milan.
He's exactly that kind of player, but he's expensive.
I don't believe so. AC
Milan. How much are they looking at?
I'm not sure, but I don't think AC Milan are going
50-60 million.
I believe so. I believe that would be enough.
That's a lot of money.
But right now, if you want a midfielder, that's what you have to pay.
You're willing to pay that
he's willing to pay, unless you're going to look for someone in Croatia or one of these smaller leagues, Croatia, Portugal, who's not really there yet, that you're willing to take a risk on.
I will give the French boy a chance.
Yeah.
In this
they need to move fast because I hear Liverpool are interested in him as well. So,
but Cherky won't even be that expensive because Lyon have a lot of financial problems. So it will be very
for 35-40 million he should be able
That's even too much, 25. Yeah. Because Lyon are really desperate because Lyon have been relegated per their financial situation. Yes. So they need to move.
Olympique Lyonnais, always going through it, had such a good spell. They won 7 league titles during the SCN spell and haven't won a league title since. They haven't won a league title since.
Bad management. Because they made good money of those guys.
Exactly.
Look at how much they sold us and they sold DR at the time.
That team was made up of stars. They sold everybody. And then the team somehow regressed.
But the truth is, I feel like it's the Southampton dilemma.
Same thing.
When you have generational talents and you sell them, you're not going to find generational talents for peanuts the same way you are trying. It won't work.
What they should have done,
Brighton have sustained their model.
They should have invested.
But Brighton spend a lot of money.
Yes,
they have started spending a lot of money.
Brighton spend the money they get.
Like you're saying, that is the best way to replace. And then you give the other guys the chance to develop. And
for me, I really don't believe in big money spending. I think that for every player you can get a big money signing, if you look hard enough and you are patient enough,
look at what Brighton have done.
You can find a replacement.
They sold Caicedo
and bought Baleba. And I think Baleba is a better tactical technician than.
But let's be honest, Baleba for 30 million after
was a lot of money. That's what I'm saying.
It's a lot of money.
Actually started
it's a very big risk.
They looked at it. You remember when they bought him? The coach was on record to have said that he's a better technician in that zone than Caicedo. They knew.
That's why they were selling for like 80 million.
Caicedo for over 100 million.
But that's what I'm saying. All of that, people have to take big risks.
No, you have to. That is the word. You need to be ready to take the risk.
Quality scouting will lead you to make such bold decisions. Look at Southampton when they sold Van Dijk and Luke Shaw and all those
money
they took. What did
they went and bought in Tebes with them
in their replacement? In Tebes.
True.
They were so bad in their replacement.
The replacements were terrible. Anyway, let's move it on. Let's get more highlights in the mix. Let's go to my good friend's good team. Amorim said He says the good days are coming back. So let me take a break, and then when I come back, I'll bring you a taste of the good days that are yet to come next season. Stay with us here on Scorecard. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's finish off with our final Premier League highlights of the day. And this game was at Old Trafford. I was telling everybody who would listen that United have this funny behavior of winning games you don't expect them to win. And today, that's exactly what happened. Villa needed the 3 points to go to the Champions League. United pipped them. But there was some controversy. A Morgan Rogers goal that was disallowed. I hear Villa are going to protest that decision. I don't know to what end, really. But let's get the highlights of this game. We'll come back in studio and discuss. Unai Emery, agitated, animated, very hysterical on the sidelines there, and rightly so, because a lot was riding on this for his team. So let me come to you. So Villa, clearly unhappy with this. They say that they are going to officially launch a protest or complaint with regards to the officiating and some of the decisions that happened with this game. I don't know what you feel about, but they've lost big money as a result of their inability to qualify for the Champions League.
How many times have you not said this season that decisions happen? We've heard Arsenal fans complaining. What has everyone told Arsenal fans?
They complain too much.
Thank you. You see, at the end of the day, referees make mistakes. It's part of the game. It's understandable. I know this is a huge implications. But we've seen Aston Villa stay in the Premier League because of a ball that crossed the line. That didn't actually cross the line because goal line technology stopped working on the day. So everybody has had their issues with the refereeing and stuff. Sheffield United have things to say. If you remember, there was an issue about many years ago, Sheffield United as well, West Ham signing Carlos Tevez, and that being an illegal transfer. Look, so some of these things, you just have to take it as it goes. Not everything will go your way. On the referee's part, right, he thought that Bayende had caught the ball. And it looked like Bayende had caught the ball.
Yeah.
The referee does not have slow motion replays. He doesn't have... He can't just let the match go and blow his whistle after because he thought. He has to act on what he thinks he has seen. I know, okay, everyone is saying, why did he blow so early and stuff? But if it was your team, you would expect him to blow. And that's the truth of the matter. I'll sit here and say, yes, he made a mistake. But sometimes I feel like we overplay referee mistakes. The game is moving at a high pace, very quick. And in that situation, it looked like Bayende had caught the ball. Yeah. If you had not seen that replay, if you had seen that incident just once, I'm sure you would have also thought Bayende had caught the ball. So let's have some mercy on the referee. I'm sure Villa are saying he's not experienced. A more experienced referee would have caught it. I don't think so. They feel maybe Martinez's red card was harsh. And to be fair to Villa, they have a point because the same kind of incident happened in the FA Cup final. Haaland was deemed to be going wide. And they said that Dean Henderson's handball was not denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. And look, it's the same wide that Haaland is going. So clearly...
And it looks like he's lost control of the ball.
So clearly you can understand where Villa are coming from. But at the end of the day, look, that's one of those decisions. It happens. You just have to take it like that. You can't have every decision go your way. It's never happened.
They just feel like the bad decisions happen at the worst possible time.
But that bad decision that kept them in the Premier League all those years ago, what would Sheffield United say? So I feel like...
You see, I have a bit different view on the matter. I think Villa themselves didn't show up to play.
True.
I watched the game.
True.
They were that poor.
Because the first half was all Man U.
They were that poor.
Before the red card.
Man United issues all season of not being able to put their chances away came to the fore. After 30 minutes, United should have been a minimum of 4 goals up. If they were scoring the chances that they created, they should have scored minimum 3-4. Now, United didn't do that. As for the red card, it was a clear red card. Because he deliberately... You see, in the case of the Haaland and the Crystal Palace goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, his foot was outside of the box, and then he palmed the ball away. Haaland at the time had not touched the ball. Okay, but if Haaland had at least touched the ball before that incident, they say Haaland is in control of the ball, and then although he was moving away from goal, that would have been a center. But in this case, Rasmus is left-footed. He goes past him. He doesn't need to take a second touch. He gets his
also
angle right.
If
He
you look
scores.
at Martinez does nothing to get to the ball.
At all.
He just goes
he
straight
just-
for the man.
So that was an obvious red card. So he's out.
And I have to say something, Martinez. I've been saying this a lot. He makes a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
but we are not watching. So
Watching.
he gets away.
He gets
goes
the
to
adulation
He
during
goes
the
to Copa
tournament.
America. He will save 3 penalties. Then we
Then
say he's the best in
everybody
the
will
world.
say- So Villa, look, it was shocking to me. I thought, looking at where Man United is at the moment, they will come into the game, take the bull by the horn. Look, we have been the better team,
shocked.
and then come and then boss.
No,
but
I
United
think,
completely.
just to even add to that, I think at halftime, I don't think Villa had a shot.
Yes,
Seriously,
They had
it
not had
was
a shot
that
on
bad.
target. It
And
was
then
that bad.
Martinez gets sent off just before halftime.
Yeah, just
right?
before
He said
halftime.
45 plus 1.
Yeah,
Crazy.
just before halftime. And one would have said that, okay, give Rashford the opportunity. What's the guarantee he would have even scored?
Yep.
And you can come back.
He can still come back at 11v11. But having said that, look, it brought an end to a very bad season for United. The worst I have seen since
you started supporting
the team. But I predicted that they will lose a minimum of 16 games. And I've been vindicated. Someone may ask, the coach, what did you see to predict that? Because I knew that would have been the outcome because of the system the manager was playing and because of the players who were being asked to play that system. Nketia, you bear with me that I insisted that Amorim should not change his system.
Yep.
Not that I'm not smart enough to say this manager should adapt for the sake of the club so that next season when he gets his players, then he reverts. This group of players, about 80% of them have been at the club for close to 9-10 years.
Yeah.
They were not going to change. We've had coaches, Ten Hag came, he tried what he wanted to do in his first 2 games. He got beat. He quickly adjusts to accommodate them. They let him down.
The circus continues.
They let him down. So it is not about pleasing them. United had problems before Ruben Amorim walked into the team.
Yeah.
This coach has been brought in to change the cultural problem within this team. He's not the only person to do so. You have to extend the problems all the way to the owners of the club. You look at that team today. Lindelof, Johnny Evans, Bayern.
Lindelof has confirmed his
He's
departure.
leaving. Evans is leaving. Ericsson is leaving. Bayern will leave. Houghton will leave. No Marcus Rashford. No Anthony. No Malacia. You can name them. That is the gravity.
Can you replace all these players?
No, at the end of
with
the
quality?
day, they've not been good enough. So what I'm saying that, the other day I was doing my count.
I'm actually...
My count says 6-7 players
Players,
are leaving because their contract have expired.
Yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe said, and the Glazers, they cannot tell me that they cannot raise 300 million pounds. Manchester United, no matter the financial difficulty,
But
United is so huge.
But
a goal.
if you are replacing 7 players, you might need more than that.
No, for now, just replace those 7. Because those I've mentioned,
They
some
are
of
not
them.
even playing in Europe.
Yeah, so you can replace those 7 and get them for pre-season
Yeah.
along the likes of those who the coach will decide.
I don't have a lot of time. I want you to answer a question for me. Amorim says that Garnacho should find a new club. You were never on board with United getting rid of Garnacho because you think he's a young talent that will eventually come around.
Exactly.
How do you feel about this?
Look, he has to leave because he's been so disrespectful. Garnacho leaving this team, I think if it's on his performance, I'll be the first person to defend him.
Okay.
That he's a 20-year-old. If you look at what he does, he can only get better as a player. He needs more because he broke through into the first team, I think about 18 months ago. Typical of players at that age, their performance will be very undulating. So everything that he's experienced is typical with the age. But what he has brought upon himself, if you associate yourself with the likes of Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, these are highly indisciplined players. You are from Argentina. Even even when he goes to the national team, he knows of the rivalry between Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi. You are wearing the sea blue and white striped. When they ask you who is your idol, in the presence of Messi, then you are mentioning Ronaldo's name. You are not sensible.
No, but that's the truth.
No, you have to keep that to yourself, because you are telling us that.
Last time they asked him, he said both.
You see,
because he's a Manchester United player, Argentina.
I'm sorry, because somebody had fired him.
They are advising.
Messi unfollowed him on Instagram.
You may love the two of them.
Apparently,
you may love the two of them, or you may love Ronaldo a bit more. But to the people of Argentina, that is their football god.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So he was not smart.
It's like he doesn't understand. Like, he doesn't know how to read between the lines.
And he's a bad loser. Look at the sort of thing he said after Wednesday.
He made it all about himself.
You win together, you lose together. What was the guarantee that if he had started the game, Man United would have won? How many games had he not started this season? And what was the outcome?
Yeah.
And in terms of chances wasted,
he's
the worst culprit this season in the team. He's wasted. He's squandered the most chances.
More than Rasmus.
Rasmus at times he doesn't even get chance. If Garnacho plays, look at against Lyon, the one he dribbled the defender,
did everything,
and then he just blasted the ball. Look at that. Even against Atletico Bilbao, you remember in the second leg, he had Bruno Fernandes played him through one. He messed that up. You don't 20-year-old and you are this disrespectful.
Feeling like a star.
He should go and feel like a star elsewhere. They should bring the 50, 60, or 70 million.
I want to respond to a few things.
Just quickly, I need to go to the Serie A game.
Let's be honest. A lot of these players were bought by Ten Hag. 70% of these players are Ten Hag players. Seriously?
No.
No. Seriously.
The United team?
Yeah, the United first team.
Wait, can we do a head count?
Let's go to Onana.
Yes.
Goalkeeper,
Bayinde. When did Bayinde come?
He's a Ten Hag.
Bayinde he's not good enough.
I'm just saying.
Choice.
Delete.
Delete is a player who will stay.
Alessandro.
Who will stay?
Ugarte, Zexi, Rasmus,
Malacia.
He brought players, but apart from Dogo,
he brought Garnacho and Kobe Menu.
He promoted them. But what I'm saying is that
so you see, I feel like
their contract have expired.
Coach, let me finish. What coach is saying is that these players have been here and they failed at the Manchester. I don't think that's true. I think we're at a point, most of the players here are Ten Hag players. There are very few long-serving players. I will agree with you.
Lindelof, Maguire, Bruno, Rashford. Who else is there?
You see, what I'm saying is that
it's not that
we are virtually saying the same.
No, coach, let me finish. He brought the players, and the players weren't good enough. Ten Hag's talent ID is the problem. That is a separate issue. I don't think that the idea that Ten Hag adjusted to these players is necessarily true. Because once you buy all these players, you can play whatever style you want.
When I say he adjusted to them, in the first season he had to adjust.
That one is.
In the second season he brought some. This was his third season. Yeah. So after 3 years, then you have your team. So let's allow Ruby Amorim to do the same thing.
And the second thing is the 300 million coach wants them to spend. They cannot spend it.
Look, coach, listen, it's not about spending 300 million. It's about replacing 7 players who are first-team players, coach, and they are leaving.
No, but coach, you said that you expect
to raise 300.
I'm saying I will be shocked
if his team can't raise.
If they cannot raise 300 million minimum to replace them.
And that's something. Where would the 300 million come from?
United.
And that's the point, coach. The financial situation is bad.
Then they should sell the club.
If they spend 300 million, they'll be like Nottingham Forest, Everton. They'll get a points deduction.
Oh, David.
I'm telling you.
No English can look in the face of United.
Time will tell. The summer is just here. Let's finish off with the Italian.
Cunha is coming for 62. Let
me finish off with 40. The Italian Serie A, where one of your favorite players was in action. He's in line for Serie A MVP. He's won MVP. Scott McTominay, there you go. Napoli's second highest scorer this season. He and Romelu Lukaku did the business for them when they needed to beat Cagliari to win the Serie A title. Let's get the highlights of that game. So Napoli and Antonio Conte have won the Serie A title alongside Lukaku and MVP McTominay. Congratulations to them. Let me just take 30 seconds on that. Coach, quick thoughts on Napoli, Conte, and McTominay and Co wrapping up the Serie A.
Remember, I said I wanted them to win it.
Yeah.
Although Inter had a better team.
Yep.
But I really... Antonio Conte is a manager I really do like until he starts doing his things.
He's already started. He's about to leave.
There you go. I don't know why he continuously does these things. But look, they are deserving champions. They are now forcing Inter to go and beat PSG, or else they also go trophyless.
Yep. Yeah. Inter Milan season is looking dire all of a sudden. Just quick thoughts on that, Susu, before you go.
Well, look, we said it that wins the running, they had the easier games.
Yeah.
Even though they slipped up at points, luckily for them, Inter also slipped up enough. They've gotten it done, and congratulations to Antonio Conte. He's managed 6 seasons in Serie A, and he's won 5 titles. So that should tell you all you need to know about what he does in Serie A. Congratulations to McTominay.
6 seasons and won 5 titles.
Yeah. Congratulations to Romelu Lukaku. Look, I know we all laugh at him that he misses some chances in some big games.
He's led 2 Serie A teams.
But he's led 2 teams to Serie A titles. That's very impressive. He has 100 Premier League goals. I think he has had a good career. I think
Lukaku is a legend. I don't know.
He scored over
Lukaku's legendary status. To me personally, he's never ever. It's never been in doubt for me.
But you see, I always say Lukaku is the big games that, because if you remember the Europa League final at Inter, he just had a horrible game. He cost them the game. The Champions League final.
You know why they need to put respect on his name?
And you remember the Belgium-Croatia game? One of the worst
I started
performances I've seen in my life.
Reading and watching about Lukaku in 90 minutes. The newspaper 90 minutes. Back at Infantsprint. When he was being compared to Drogba. I've done university. I've done a couple of years here, and Lukaku is still firing.
Lukaku was bought to be Drogba's replacement. Do you remember when he was 16, he joined Chelsea. Right now he's what, 32, 30,
and he's still
31, 32.
And he's still winning titles.
No, I like Lukaku a lot, but
big time guy.
Yeah, but I understand people sometimes.
They like and they like to come for him for his first touch. They should stop that. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Susu. Thank you guys out there for texting into the show, making time to watch us, and also just going through the whole show with us. Season has ended, but Scorecard will still come your way on Sundays. We have a lot more for you. We'll be doing, a lot more skirmishes on the show now that we have some leeway with the off season. So it should be interesting. Same time next week, we'll be back on your screens.